been alone too long. Gotta learn how to walk with my shadow. I've been so low in my lane till you showed up out of nowhere. Damn, now I got a halo.
Whenever the topic of discussing how I like to listen to music comes up, I feel like I'm always in the minority when I say I prefer to listen to full, complete albums rather than random singles or playlists. Now, I wasn't always like this. I actually was guilty of doing this in the past. Before, I would find a couple songs that I like and I'd have them on repeat for days after days. And it wasn't only until I found a new set of songs that I would change that and the cycle would repeat itself over and over again. With streaming and short form content, it's never been easier to just skip a song, shuffle, and move on to the next one. However, within the past couple of years, something had changed in me. When I would hear a new song that I like, or if I remembered an artist that I used to listen to, I began to get more curious and wanted to explore their previous discography to see if there was anything else that I would have enjoyed. Naturally, this led me to want to listen to their music more rather than just have it in the background. And I started to listen to albums the way the artist had intended, from top to bottom. Albums are such a unique art form that I feel is getting underappreciated. There's so much that goes into an album than just the songs themselves. I started to be more intentional with how I listen to music, and ever since then, this has shifted how I experience and enjoy music. I think this curiosity is just naturally who I am. As a designer, I'm always trying to figure out why an artist decided to do something a certain way and what they're trying to make us feel as an audience and a consumer of their piece of work. When I started approaching albums and viewing it in this perspective, I stopped thinking of it as just a collection of songs, but rather an entire world that the artist is trying to build. Every track, every transition, every detail, and everything associated with the album is all intentional. Last week, actually, one of my favorite singers, TAEYANG, released his newest album, Quintessence. And what better way to tell you guys how I like to listen to an album than to just show you. Now, I'm not saying that this is the right way to listen to music. This has just been what's been working for me and has helped me enjoy music more and appreciate it a lot more than I did before. So let's get into it. So obviously, in order to listen to an album, you need to first have access to that album. And this can be something different depending on the person you ask. You could pull it up on your preferred streaming service, you could buy it digitally through services like iTunes or Qobuz, or you could even buy the actual physical album. Now, I don't have a streaming service account anymore, and I also don't buy all my albums that I listen to, but I do have to manually add all the songs that I want to listen to my library through completely legal services. And while it does take a bit longer to do it that method, I feel like I'm already establishing a stronger connection with the music and the album before I even listen to it. Because the amount of time that I take to actually just get access to the songs in the album shows that I really do intentionally want to listen to that piece of work. Plus, it adds a layer of personal connection with that album that no one else can really have except you. As I mentioned earlier, TAEYANG dropped his album about last week now, but my local music store finally got stock of his album, so I decided to pick it up because I tend to only buy physical albums for groups and artists that I really like. And while I was there, I also decided to pick up the Blackpink Deadline album. I'll open this separately, but today I wanted to focus on this one. When you buy an album, you're paying for a form of the album that you can physically hold and interact with. And this is something that streaming just can't offer. Physical albums offer more than just the music that's on the CD themselves. When you buy an album, you're paying for a way to physically interact and engage with the album in a way that streaming just can't offer. Plus, on top of that, you're directly supporting the artist. Now, what comes with an album differs from artist to artist, and it even differs from the type of format that you buy. If you're buying just a regular CD, the type of stuff that's included is definitely different than if you're buying a vinyl. But whatever is included in each one of these are intentionally added to help build the world that you're about to enter when listening to the album. Now, this album has a lot of stuff in it, so I'm gonna quickly break it down for you. Right away in the beginning, you get a little excerpt from TAEYANG himself explaining why he chose this as the title of the album. I find that this is a nice touch to add to the album because it gives context on the type of experience that he wants you to be able to engage in and to give context to why he made this album in the first place. Now, the next few pages showcase the track list, which normally is found on the back just like this, but in K-pop, there's recently been a trend where you stylize and design each of the titles of a song in a different format, so you can use different fonts or designs, and it kind of gives you an idea of what the song should evoke in terms of emotions or how the song should feel. And it gives you kind of like a teaser into what the actual song will sound like. Now, a large chunk of the book actually just showcases TAEYANG in a bunch of different outfits and a bunch of different sets, and it pretty much just gives you an opportunity to see the type of imagery he wants you to anticipate when you're going into the album. Plus, it's mostly just eye candy, just so you could see him in all these different outfits. Nearing the back of the book, there is a lyrics section for each of the songs. And because I have to manually add lyrics to my songs myself, I have to just trust what I find online But having the lyrics here in a physical format makes me trust this a bit more that these are the correct lyrics. I find that sometimes the lyrics online aren't 100% correct because they're community ran, but having a physical way to read the lyrics makes me feel a bit more confident that these are the correct lyrics. Now, towards the very end, there's actually this section that says, define your quintessence. And this is obviously unique to this album. You won't find that in another one. Now, I don't know actually what is going to go in here. There's a bunch of blank pages, so I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be for myself. I think this is a really good example of the album trying to get us participating and engaged and really thinking about what this album means to us. Basically, the album is trying to start a conversation and it's getting yourself more involved with the album than you would have otherwise. And finally, it wouldn't be a K-pop album without the inclusions. So for this one, we have the TAEYANG photo card, and it also comes with a postcard. There's this double-sided poster. Oh. And I'm actually not too sure what this is, but there's this. And we have some stickers for some of the song titles. So this one is Live Fast, Die Slow. I think this is the title track. We have Now, Would You, Yes, and Open Up. Finally, we have the actual CD, and it comes in this little sleeve. I'm gonna try and take this out without ruining the sleeve. And this is what the actual CD looks like. I always like looking at the art that gets printed on these CDs. If you remember the TOP one I opened last month, it was like an eyeball. So this one has the logo on the CD. Now that we actually have the CD, let's go put it in my CD player. So now that we have the songs of the album downloaded and loaded up on my computer, it's time for the actual fun part, which is listening to the album. Whenever there's a new album that I'm really excited to listen to, I always like to listen to it first at my desk using these Sennheiser headphones. By no means would I consider myself an audiophile because I don't think I could distinguish the difference between CD grade lossless files versus streaming quality files, but having the ability to wear good quality headphones allows for me to really immerse myself in the album that I'm about to listen to. On that note, how you listen to an album can definitely influence how you receive certain songs on the album. Things like location, speaker, and how you're actually feeling in the moment all can influence whether certain things stand out to you in the moment or not. For example, an album that you hear on your desktop can sound okay at best, but if you hear it in your car, for some reason that environment and that stereo makes it sound 10 times better. As I listen to an album, I do like to take notes, whether it be physically or mentally, just so that I could remember what I was feeling or what I was thinking when I heard the song. I try not to make some hard opinions right away because from the past, I've learned that some songs definitely take a couple listens before you really start to enjoy it a lot more than the first time you listen to it. So yeah, for the most part, I do like to listen to an album multiple times and in different locations just so that I can really form a solidified opinion about that song. And even then, it's probably still not finalized. It's just how I feel at that moment. A lot can change. Even like a year later, if I listen to the same album, I might feel a certain way and it might not be exactly the same as when I first heard it. Like I mentioned earlier, I listened to this album at my desk, which is a completely different environment because I'm sitting there, I'm focused on the album and I'm not distracted by anything. But now I want to listen to the album using my iPod and sitting in the living room because it might evoke a different emotion and a different experience listening to the album compared to in the office. Later, I'll probably listen to it through my CD player and even in the car. And each one has its own charm and each one brings out a different aspect of the album I probably wouldn't have known before. It's worth noting that around this time after I've listened to the album a couple of times, I like to go back and watch some interviews or watch some people review the album as well. I like to do this after the fact so that I can have my own opinion about the album and not let it be influenced by others. I know he's released a couple of videos on the Black Label channel, which documents the whole process of making this album and even behind the scenes footage of making the music video. And I really enjoyed his interview with Apple Music to help provide some more context with how this album came to be and overall how he feels as an artist, especially with his recent comeback with Big Bang and how those two differentiate. Watching music videos, looking at music visualizers, seeing any promotional teasers or artwork, all of these digital assets are just as important in creating this world that the artist had intended. So as you can see, when I listen to an album, it's more than just listening to the songs. I like to experience all the different ways the artist had intended for us to experience the album, whether that be physically, visually, or audioly, sonically, that's the word. Okay, first of all, welcome to my computer. But second of all, I wanted to showcase an example of how I like to rank and provide some notes on some songs and an album overall. So I made this app that basically gives you the track list, lets you give it a ranking from 0 to 5, and give some additional notes. So everything is pretty early because I haven't listened to the album too much yet, but I did have the ability to write some notes so that I can remember certain things and just be reminded on what stood out to me in each song. So for example, in songs like Live Fast, Die Slow, which is the title track, I wrote that part of the song, especially the outro, reminded me of Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. And other songs like Yes, you'll notice that it's not my favorite song on the album, but it did have an interesting part of it where it referenced a previous song, which was Lollipop by Big Bang and 21. And just having that in the song still let me appreciate it a bit more than just having it be forgettable. So despite it being the least favorite on the album, I still remember it for that fact. I'm not going to go in depth on all of these, but I wanted to showcase that this is something that I do like to do and will probably iterate on as I get more opinions on the album and discover more things about the album as I listen to it. One unique thing that has come out of listening to music in this way and buying physical formats of these albums is that I have an additional story attributed to each of these albums that I never would have had if I only listened to it digitally. For example, I have this G-Dragon album, and on the surface, it looks like just a regular G-Dragon album. But the story behind this is that I first listened to it when I was back in the Philippines. And I actually accidentally heard it in a cafe because due to the time zone differences, it was already released. But I remember thinking that this sounds like G-Dragon, but I've never heard this song before. And it was actually Gyro Drop from this album. In addition, I actually bought this album during a layover in Korea that I had coming back home from the Philippines. So already I have such a strong connection with this album and so many memories associated with it. Now back in 2020, I bought my very first K-pop album, which was not just any regular album, but it was Blackpink's first studio album, vinyl limited edition. Now this thing has a lot in it, and you could already see that it has this cool holographic effect on it. But the thing is, I don't even have a vinyl player. I just bought it because I was so invested in Blackpink at the time, and I really just wanted to buy their album. When this released, it was around the time where I was just getting into K-pop as a whole, and back when it was COVID still. So this has a lot of memories tied to it. And last year, my girlfriend actually gifted me my favorite album, I would say, in my collection, which is this personalized album for our anniversary. It was really thoughtful to get this as a gift from her because she knew how much I enjoyed listening to music and how much the album experience meant to me. So seeing all the detail that she put in really just demonstrated how important each aspect of an album is to create a whole cohesive experience. She picked out songs that represented us, and I think there's only 22 on here because that's all that could fit on the CD, but there was actually 2 more that she showed that she wanted to add but had to scrap because there was no more space. And then you could see the cover. She designed this herself, which was really nice and cute of her because I know she always likes to do things and create things. She even went through the process of making an insert with all the lyrics because she knew how much I enjoyed reading through these, and she designed every single one. And this was honestly the most thoughtful gift I've ever gotten from someone. It even came with its own set of inclusions like stickers and photos. I remember when she first gave this to me and I played the CD in front of her, I actually didn't want to see the track list right away. I wanted to be surprised, and every time a new song played, I was transported back to a point in our relationship where I could vividly remember where this song fit into our timeline. And that's pretty much it. That's how I like to listen to albums. I know it might seem like a lot, and trust me, I get it. But to me, it feels like the most natural way to at least try and show appreciation to a piece of work that somebody had probably put hours and hours of work into creating and spent so much time and effort and energy into making something. The more and more I do this, I feel like the more I get out of it. I found some of my favorite albums just because I only liked one song initially on the album, and I decided to take a chance and listen to the whole thing. I've also been able to develop a deeper connection to some of the artists that I already enjoy, just by simply listening to all of their albums and seeing their artistry develop over the years. Music has always been a big part of my life, and I'm so happy that this is the way that I'm engaging with it now because it's definitely changed how I interact and appreciate music moving forward. Of course, you'll never be able to listen to everything, but at least the ones that I intentionally choose to, I should be able to invest myself and immerse myself in the worlds that are being created. If you've never listened to an album fully from top to bottom or haven't done it in a while, I highly suggest that you try. Just pick an artist that you like, pick an album, and just press play. It could be one that you've listened to before or a completely new one. But the main thing is to just sit there and really take in all the songs as they come in. Don't press skip, don't shuffle, and listen to it in the way that the artist had intended. Anyway, I hope that was interesting. I always enjoy talking about music and talking about how I engage with music nowadays. But for now, I'm gonna go listen to Taeyang's album again. Peace.